Great to see you here again. My name is Luc de Koster, and in this video I will talk about the activity on node scheduling method or the precedence diagramming method. But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. So let's have a look at the principles of activity on node, also abbreviated as AON. Now, the activity on node networking technique is different from the previously described activity on arrow techniques. We spoke about the arrow diagramming method and the program evaluation and review technique. And in the ADM or the AON, we are representing the activities by nodes and the dependency relationship by arrows. In the previous method, in the AOA, we had the arrow as a representation for the activity, and we had event nodes between which those activities happened. Now, in the AON, we have a node, and that node basically is represented typically as a rectangle, can also be like a circle, and it contains the basic information about the activity. We have the activity name, the duration, the cost or the cost center, the early start, early finish, late start, late finish of the activity, and the slack. So all these elements are combined on this node. And when we look at the activity on node, you will see that the calculation of those parameters is easier than in the activity on arrow. Certainly when we look at the backward pass, we will see that the calculation of late start and late finish is earlier. Also, we do not need any dummy activities because we can have multiple arrows, multiple relationships identified between activities. What is the importance of the activity on node method? Although both methods seem to have occurred around the same time, the first computer programs were using the activity on the arrow method. And it was in the beginning the more prevailing method. We still talk about the PERT diagrams. Now, one of the elements about the activity on arrow was the limitation of dummy activities. And when you look at algorithms, when you try to find a solution to reduce, to minimize the dummy activities, which is basically the goal, we don't want to have too many dummy activities, we see that this is a problem which cannot really solve in polynomial time. When we see that basically this is what we call an NP problem in algorithms, and NP problems are very complex problems that cannot be resolved easily. So finding a solution where we have the minimum of dummy activities is really not very effective to do so. And that also relates to the techniques that exist until now. Now, basically, we don't want to have too many dummy activities. And in that case, the activity on the arrow method is more interesting. Now, it started to appear in more available software like Microsoft Project. When you go to Microsoft Project and you draw the schedule, you can find the scheduling or the network diagram. You see that it will be represented as an activity on node diagram, not like a PERT or an ADM diagram. It replaced the activity on the arrow methods because of the simplicity. Like I said, there are no dummy activities. The calculations are easier, certainly manually, and we have additional dependencies. We will talk about that later. We can also have different dependencies in the activity on the arrow method, but it becomes more complicated. It's easy to do it in activity on the node networking techniques. Now, when we look at the PMI and activity on the activity on the node method with the PDM is the preferred method for creating a network diagram. And only the PDM should be considered for taking those certification exams. I must say that I already saw some people having some questions related to an activity on arrow method. Now, it's basically not so difficult to look into it, but when you understand it, it will be a rare occasion, and normally this should not be occurring in the exam. But it happened a few times, and better be prepared than just say, hey, what's happening here? Now, the thing is that the activity on arrow methods with the activity or arrow diagramming method and the program evaluation and review technique are still valid. They are basically equivalent methods, and both methods should give the same result. So whether you use an activity on the arrow or an activity on the node networking method, the final result, the end result, should be the same. Some people will still prefer the arrow diagramming method or the PERT method. It has some very interesting features. It's very elegant, and it provides some additional, let's say, it's very nice to present the network diagram for people who are looking at it. It's quite interesting. I like it in a way. The activity on node has some other disadvantages. Now, typically the activity on the arrow networks seem to be less complex and more logical graphs. And on the other hand, the activity on the node provides us with easier calculations. There are no dummy activities, and additionally, it's easier to apply, or it has additional easy to apply dependencies. Now, these are the things that you have to consider, and both techniques, for what I am concerned, can be used whatever project you're dealing with. It just depends on what the people like. And when we look at some people doing the networking, the creating networks, you will see that some of the elements they got from the PERT and the ADM diagrams, they're still applying in the diagrams that we have today. So we will look deeper into that later, because I want you to understand how these two techniques work, how they are the same and how they are different. So that was it for this video. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. I thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next videos. Bye bye.